The second deadly mistake is a lack of professionalism. And there are a lot of ways that your website can fail in this area. The first one is your domain name. Your domain name may be what you think it is in your head, but what I recommend you do is write it in small letters and then see if there are other words in there. For example, how many of you think that you know what this website is saying? Anyone want to take a guess?
Yeah, choose Spain.
That's right. That's what it's supposed to be saying. It's supposed to be saying choose Spain. But if you switch the capitalizations, you get chooses pain. And I have a list of domains that are more unfortunate than this. Another place where your website expresses its professionalism is in how you navigate. A lot of people will put so many navigation things at the top of their website that people land on a page and they don't know where to go. The mind can only understand things in like 3s, 5s, 7s. Chunk your website into 3, 5, or 7 chunks of content, and then put that content in there so that anyone can get to any page on your website within 3 clicks or less. If it takes longer than 3 clicks, they probably will not go there. Then there's readability. I know a lot of people who like to put the light text on a dark background because it looks cool. And given that I'm kind of a geek, so I visit a lot of science fiction, fantasy, and horror websites, there's a lot of this. And that's good if you're doing it strategically and you don't care if people actually read your content. If you want people to read your content, make sure that the stuff you want them to read is a dark text on a light background. And a lot of this has to do with general readability. Even on print magazines, light text on a dark background is hard to read, but it is especially difficult to read online because the flickering of the screen makes everything harder to read. The other thing you need to think about is your font choice. I've seen a lot of websites that just love using Comic Sans. Comic Sans is great if you're going for a very young audience because it's sort of a fun, funky font. But if your target market is more professional, it just makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. Another note on readability, when something is printed, a serif font is easier to read. That's something like Times New Roman. But for some reason, online, sans-serif fonts are easier to read. So you want to choose something like Arial or Century Gothic, something that is, and I think part of that has to do with the flickering of the screen. You want to go for a sans-serif font, mostly. You might switch it up a little bit. For example, maybe have what you want people to read in a sans-serif font, but your headlines in a serif font, or vice versa, as long as the font's large enough to read.